So the show Baby Reindeer on Netflix is kind of popping up all over. It's trending in a few places. It's getting a lot of attention, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But first, I want to say this channel is normally about reading and getting people to see that reading can actually exercise your brain. But the point to reading to exercise your brain is it makes you think. It makes you understand things a little bit different. It makes you understand empathy. It makes you look at things from a different perspective than you normally would. That's why I think Baby Reindeer sets itself apart from a lot of shows that you find on streaming these days. So the show is written and starring the guy you see right there, about his experience with a stalker and other things that went on with people he knew in his actual life. So the story is essentially 100% true, but lots of names and places are changed and some artistic license has been taken on a few cases. So now this is from a Forbes article. Richard Gadd, that guy, told Variety that the series is 100% true, with events of the story borrowed from instances that happened to either him or real people that he met. But of course, you can't use the exact truth, both for legal and artistic reasons, especially when there's some legalities involved. You want to change a lot of things for legal reasons. And so the story is mostly about him being stalked by the woman you see across the bar from him, um, and sort of other things that went on in either his life or obviously in other people's lives. He just put him in the story in his life. But the thing about stalking, and this comes from a Pulse article and was an interview with that guy, was he wanted people to take three things away from it if they took anything at all. One is the messy side of stalking, and it's not always necessarily all that straightforward. So one of the key messages is that stalker encounters aren't always black and white, right? It's not always very clear that you're being stalked. It might start differently. It might start as a friendship. It might start as somebody you know. Next thing you know, it turns into something that kind of gets bigger and bigger and kind of gets blown out of proportion. In his case, and this is in the series, he offered a drink on the house to a woman, and in real life, it was 20 years his senior. He thought it was a kind gesture. He didn't know what was going to come. And to quote him, quote, I indulged her. I made stupid errors. I was in a bad place and sort of felt like I needed the attention. My confidence was at rock bottom, and I wanted to get all that in to show the nuances of the human condition, that people are a mixture of good and bad. He said that guy said in an interview. So did he, go in thinking that the person he was just being nice to was going to turn into a stalker? Did he like the attention at first and then it got too overwhelming for him? All that kind of comes out in the series. The second thing he wants people to take advantage of or take note of in the series is the complicated nature of sexual abuse, because in the series he is sexually abused by somebody who's promising to help his career, and in a not comfortable way if you're straight, which makes him, of course, question his sexuality and have causes him sexual problems in his actual relationships instead of just the abusive ones. But so what he wants you to take away from that is the complicated nature of sexual abuse. Gadd was also deliberate in weaving his experience of grooming and sexual abuse into the plot of Baby Reindeer. His main emphasis was on the fact that the majority of abuse happens in intimate relationships. And I think that's not just true of sexual abuse. I think the majority of actual abuse takes place in intimate relationships, whether it's physical, emotional, or sexual. I think that sort of makes you think about not just, hey, sexual abuse, but those that are closest to you, those that you know the best, those that you trust have the highest potential to actually hurt you in ways that you didn't expect. So go back to the story, go back to the article from Pulse. Having struggled with the impact of abuse he experienced, Gadd wanted to offer a narrative that he felt was needed at the time. He also points out that he was intentional about honoring the people who supported him through the ordeal, specifically his ex, and he paid extra attention to his parents who are in the story. Um, uh, the third thing he wants you to take away is Baby Reindeer is not intended for moral debates, because there are some very questionable things that go on. So the comedian, this guy, was deliberate in not fitting any of the characters into good or bad molds or creating any moral judgment around them. Instead, his aim was to offer more comfort and a feeling of not being alone to survivors of sexual abuse, and to also provide a piece of entertainment that could resonate with audiences. In addition to the success of Baby Reindeer, Gad has written an episode for another Netflix series called Sex Education. So this guy's around in a few places, but the story itself really does make you think about some of the things that go on in people's everyday lives. You know, is being nice to someone going to be paid back to you as something nice, or is it going to be paid back to you in a way that you might not expect? And if somebody pays attention to you, do you encourage that? Are you happy about it? And does that come back to bite you in the butt? Right. So it kind of does say, hey, look, these things don't just happen. It's not like, a stalker happens to see you walking down the street and that's the end of that. Right. It's probably somebody that you talk to. It's probably somebody that you know at some level, online, offline, real life, virtual, whatever. But the story does really make at least me think about a lot of things in our everyday life. And for me, having a daughter who's 11, going thinking she's going on 17, but heading into those ages where it could become concerning for her, and having two boys who are now teenagers. These things make me think as a parent, and being single, they make me think a lot because I've had challenges in my life where being single, I go out with somebody a few times, they start randomly showing up at your house, not unannounced. Just, oh, hey, I happen to be in the neighborhood. I know I live 45 minutes away. I just happen to be here. So those sorts of things do happen in real life. My instance was not anything compared to this, and was not a big deal, but it is the kind of thing that does make you think about those that you do try to get close to, and makes you really thankful, I think, for those close relationships with people you actually can trust. I don't think it's a cautionary tale on who can you and can't you trust, or, oh, never trust anybody again. But I do think it's a cautionary tale on whether or not you encourage certain behaviors, or whether or not, when you start to see those warning signs, you have that simple discussion with somebody. So let's say that's his stalker and that's him. Does he encourage it, or does he, hey, early on, go, hey, look, I'm not comfortable with this, right? Instead of trying to encourage something, just say, hey, look, have that adult conversation of you're going at one speed, I'm going at another. So uh, well worth watching. It's a 7-part series over on Netflix. It's really much more about humanity than it is about anything else, and I think does as good a job as any book I've read recently at making you think about parts of your life. Click like, subscribe, follow, comment. If you've watched it and you agree with me, let me know. It is doing 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, so obviously people are enjoying it. If you disagree with me, you took something else away from it, let me know. We'll have that conversation. Everybody have a great rest of your day.